What's up, everybody? Mark with Cardivox Academy here, and today we are checking out Cattle Decap, a Photic Doom, photosynthesis. I'm going with Photic. And I'm very excited because if you've been around on the channel before, you know that Travis Ryan is my favorite, one of my favorites, if not my top tier favorite metal vocalist. It has been for many years, really ever since I heard Monolith of Inhumanity. He was the GOAT for me. A lot of the storytelling, a lot of the emotion, a lot of the just like funky, weird experimentation that sounds like it's just done like in the moment. I'm a sucker for that stuff, so I'm very excited to talk about it. Now, before anybody says anything, yes, I know I spilled water on myself. Either that or when I was holding my son, he leaked on me a little bit. I don't know. It could be either. Probably the second. Who's to say? But before we get into it, my name is Mark. I am a metal vocalist myself. I'm in a metal band called Kardashev. We're on Metal Blade Records. Released an album back in June of last year. That's almost a year ago. That's crazy. And I'm also a full-time metal vocal coach, metal vocal instructor. I teach people how to do all sorts of fun sounds or safely and efficiently for years to come. It's a long road. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication, but you can do it. And that being said, quick little plug, we actually have in the next, I don't want to give a date on it yet. Everything's done. I'm just not sure exactly when we want to release it, but we do have virtual courses coming soon. The first one we're going to be releasing is false chord fundamentals. Basically, it teaches you how to safely and efficiently create false chord distortion, hold false chord tones, and start articulating so you can do cool stuff. And it's the baseline technique that many other techniques are built on top of. So it really is starting your journey. It really is a good gateway into metal vocals if you're brand new, or let's say you've been doing vocals for a while, but you're just wondering where you may have missed something along the way, where you can fill in the cracks. This course would be great for that as well. Now, that being said, the details will be on cardivoxacademy.com, where you can also find lesson info. So hey, very cool. Now, with that being said, I got nothing else, so let's go ahead and check out a Photic Doom, Cattle Decapitation. Here we go. Oh, it sounds like some nasty high vocals were just coming in. It looks like a caveman. Looking out after waking up from hibernation. So I want to talk about those low / mids at the beginning. So this is actually a sound of his that I really enjoy. I really like it quite a bit. It's not a sound that I think a lot of people should start with. But essentially what we're hearing true chord phonation, right? So his vocal cords are meeting, they're adducting in the center, right? Over the opening of the airway, and they're vibrating. And that's where we hear that underneath. Above that, we're getting vocal distortion. Primarily it sounds from the arytenoid cartilages. These cartilages open and close along with our vocal cords, right? And we actually can bring them inwards to create a little bit of distortion. We can move them slightly over the airway. We've seen this in a couple laryngoscopies, the Brandon Kennedy laryngoscopy from years ago, and then the Will Ramos laryngoscopy from, was that a year ago? Maybe. Although his did like some weird like smush and twist stuff. So don't watch that video and think you're going to do that anytime soon. You probably won't. But when we have that, we get this really funny, like if you've ever played Warcraft 3 or like, even World of Warcraft and you started an orc and you started in like Duratar. It's been a long time since I played. You'll know this sound like work, okie dokie, off I go then. Ha ha. Right? That sound is the arytenoids coming together. And one thing I've found over teaching for I think 5 years now full time, is that sound is really easy for some people and insanely hard for other people. So don't get too hung up on it. But essentially what's happening is those tissues above the airway, they're closing in. We can manually do that. And if we project into it, the Homo sapiens made it perfectly clear, right? We can get some distortion. That sounds pretty neat. Now, one thing that's interesting about the quality of his voice is that he's maintaining, like you can hear that when I do it, it goes from when I project, when I sort of lean in with proper support, not squeezing any extra, in the throat. When I lean in, it goes from that slow click to that more TV static sound. he maintains a lot of that click, which is really interesting. I don't know if that's just like more anatomically or he's just got a level of control that I don't. Could be both. But it's really neat sounding and it's really cool effect. Now, like I talked about, you can hear his true chords phonating, right? Creating speech sounds underneath those supraglottal, those tissues above. That's what supraglottal means, those tissues above the vocal cords. That's totally safe and fine to do. But generally speaking, when I'm teaching, I start people being voiceless. And the reason for that, having voiceless distortion. So instead of like, hey, 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 more of a, hey, hey, ha, me, puh, less sound of the vocal cords coming together. And the reason is I want you to have a healthy relationship with vocal distortion that does not require the use of your vocal cords. Then if you want to bring vocal cord activation in later, that is not, you're not generating a lot of that distortion on the vocal cords themselves, then that's fine, right? So sometimes people get confused. They're like, wait, I thought you said it's bad if you can hear the voice. No, it's just where I would not start people. Anyways, let's hear these high vocals because they're going to be sick as farts. Okay, we'll go ahead. I want to talk about those highs really quick. I was seeing if the song would do anything that I didn't want to miss, and I probably paused at the wrong time. I always do. So we had real quick. I'm going to talk about the lows. We heard in the background after he was done with the high vocals, and he did that layer of high and low. We heard the more vocal voiceless distortion, right? Just as like a nice background layer, right? And by the way, one thing that you want to be able to do as you, maybe not right away, but as you progress with your vocals, right? As you progress with your metal vocals, is to be able to slip in and out of clean and harsh distortion fairly easily, right? So what you heard me do there, this is just an aside, but and then we're right into our speaking voice. That's a very important skill. And it's a really good one for learning how to make sure that your vocal cords are you've got good control, right? Open, close, open, close. Anyways, that's a whole separate thing. I just did it and thought I'd point it out. His high scream is sick. His high scream is sick. It is much more TV static and much more thin. Not thin in a bad way, but thin as in like, I guess I should say focused maybe is a better word, than mine are, right? So one thing that when playing around with this sound, one thing that you can do is start with like a right? I'm not squeezing here. I am closing up in the back of my mouth and the top of my throat. Absolutely. If I was to tell you that there was no closure and no constriction in that sound, everyone would roll their eyes because they know I'm full of shit, full of sharts. Woo. But if I start here and I sort of like hiss through it like a you get this like really neat, really thin distortion, which his sounds much more Fry influenced than what I was just doing. But either way, it's awesome. I love the rolled R. A lot of what we're going to be doing when we make our high screams sound gnarly is going to involve mouth shape and it's going to involve characterization. Now, what do I mean by that? One thing that really will take your metal vocals from sounding cool to sounding great is if you're doing some like loose storytelling or some loose character acting while you do it. Now, obviously, when I say storytelling, I'm not necessarily saying that your lyrics have to be, he woke up and then he went into the kitchen and then he made a sandwich. Like they don't have to be like telling an event one after the other. But one of the most important things that we do in visual media is relay emotion, right? We relay emotion. And when we're acting, right now, I'm not an acting coach, but when we're acting, emotion is going to be part of what sells your performance, right? So you could say, I don't know a line. I'll say enter insanity. That sounds like Metallica. I don't care. I'll say enter insanity. I could just say with high vocals, right? Enter insanity, right? And like that sounded cool, but it also sounded really bland. It sounded like a really well-made dish that had no seasoning on it, right? So is it well-made if there's no seasoning? I would say no, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Now I'm going to kind of get into character. I'm going to snarl. I'll do a lip. I'll do a little roll of the tongue, but it's less about like the tiny little techniques that I do. And now I'm going to get sinister. I'm going to think sinister, right? Welcome insanity. Enter insanity. That's what I meant to say. Enter insanity. Right? Right? I'm thinking about myself as this wraith, like this little goblin, like what I can do to be intimidating. Right? And that's going to be a lot of what just gives you that character. And the best way to do that, honestly, is to just accept feeling and sounding stupid and do it with your clean voice in front of a mirror. So we want to talk about stupid. We want to talk about sounding stupid. Like there is no shame in my game. I'm always willing to sound like an idiot. So, someone's going to clip that. Anyway, so like if I was in front of a mirror, enter insanity. Oh, hello. I'm an evil wizard. I'm a lich. I'm going to turn you into a toad, right? Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just being silly and goofy and like getting into character, right? Now, if I do that, which sounded dumb, but instead I use my distortion, enter insanity. I'm a lich. I'm going to turn you into a thief. Right? Okay, now it sounds kind of cool. There was something else I was going to talk about. I don't remember what it was. I got off track. Anyways, character actor vocals. Here we go. I'm going to pause it there real quick just to talk about something. This is going to be very fast. But one thing I'm really enjoying about this song, so far we have two distortion techniques. We have that like sort of like voicey mid arytenoidal sound, and then we've got that high, very fry heavy high scream, right? And that's cool. One thing I really love is his pattern, the way he's moving about the song. This is a really important part of being a vocalist that, I think a lot of people kind of don't add a lot of focus to. They're focused on the sound, they're focused on the, but what do you do with that, right? Music is this is gonna sound like I'm trying to be like too fancy or whatever, but it is kind of true. Music is, I don't remember where I heard this, so if you know the quote, put it in the comments below or something. But music is a way of decorating time, right? We decorate 3 minutes, we decorate 5 minutes, 4 minutes and 39 seconds. And so, if you have a song and you're always like just coming in right on every beat, very predictable, this is the song, and these are my screams, and I am on beat, and that is really cool, right? We got in the boat, and then we fought the war. We stabbed with swords. We raided villages. La 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 la. Which band am I referencing? Ooh. Just very like, oh, I get it. Oh, I get it. But with him, he's coming in. It's almost like he's not saying like, hey, I'm the vocalist, so I'm going to scream over this whole thing. He's accenting. He'll do like these really quick little gallops. He's right, just in and out of the song. And I'm really liking that ebb and flow. It gives it sort of like a, tied in and out sort of feeling. So, and I never feel like I fully know what pattern he's going to do next. Like, is he going to do a quick little triplet? Is he going to come in, and just like one scream? Is he going to hold out a phrase? Whenever he does what he's going to do, it makes sense. It doesn't compete with the song, but I'm not just like, oh, that's exactly what I heard. One of my biggest pet peeves, especially with singing in like metal, is predictable melodies and predictable resolutions. Like, here's something. I'm going to do this, and almost everybody watching this video is going to complete it for me. Here we go. If you did, congratulations. When I'm listening to music, if I can do that, if I can tell, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 if I can tell what's happening next, like, that's going to happen every once in a while. But I'll just like, oh my God, I'll roll my eyes. And I run into that with a lot of like bar rock. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm not gonna waste anybody's time because it's terrible. So why would I sing it? It's awful. Here we go. All right, so let's talk about that singing because it's one of my favorite things that he does. Now, I have spent surprisingly as much as I love Travis's voice, I've spent almost no time replicating that. I tried it in another cattle decapitation cover I did. I won't do it now because it just sounded silly. It's a really cool sound. It's honestly like if somebody was to ask me, Mark, who's your favorite like distorted metal singer? Like who's your favorite? If somebody asked me who's your favorite like metal singer, like clean singer overall, it'd be Devin Townsend. But who has your favorite like gritty tone specifically? It would be Travis Ryan every time, all day, every day. When I first heard this in Monolith, I thought it was a joke. I actually saw like a behind the scenes video and I was like, this can't be serious. This sounds terrible. And then I listened to it in the album and I was like, this sounds dope as shit. I was like, this is amazing. It sounds so cool. You know, the funny thing, I've been on calls with people who do this all different ways. And it's like, it's a sound that can be approached in a lot of different ways. I was working with, not working with, but this years ago, I was on a call with Diego, who is doing a lot for the vocal competition, a lot of the writing and editing and things like this for the song that was created, and he did a very fry heavy sound, and it sounded almost identical. And then I had a student who they were learning something else, but they could do this pretty well, and they did much more of like a false chord mixed with like a very heady mixed voice, and it also sounded quite convincing. And it seems to be that there's a combination, however you're going to approach it, there's a combination of two sounds. There's a combination of a very forward, very nasal, like a very forward and nasal singing voice, right? Like that, yeah, right? And then with that, some distortion that is very open, not a lot of tension around. I mean, you don't generally want tension around the vocal cords, but not a lot of tension around the vocal cords. And it gives like this, but you know, sounding way fucking cooler when he does it. Someday I'd like to take some time and just like play around with this, but I'm never going to use it in Kardashev. And also like, I kind of think this sound is so his, like, if I heard another band and they started doing this, I'd be like, oh, like this is such a coined, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is around before. Tell me if I'm an idiot. But this is such a coined Travis sound. It's such a cattle decapitation sound. To me, it's like if I heard another band doing it, I would just be like, this makes me want to go listen to Cattle Decap. Why am I listening to this band? I want to go listen to Travis do it. That's how I would feel. And I'm a very pragmatic fellow. If there's something I'm not going to use, I just don't care to do anything with it. You know what I mean? Kudos to all those people who, you know, sit and explore every corner of their voice. For me, if I'm not going to use it in Kardashev, if I'm not going to use it in my lessons, and if I'm not going to use it in any sort of side projects, I'm going to give it no time. But maybe sometime I'll play around with it. But it sounds amazing. Again, very forward, very heady, mixed sound, right? And then you can do like that sort of distortion. You can do more fry heavy distortion. Doesn't matter to me. I actually want to go listen to it again because it was sick as hell. Oh, look, vidIQ is telling me that that's more most people are going back and clicking. Makes sense. Also, the song title, A Photic Doom, and then light turning everybody on fire. Kind of cool. Makes sense. Here we go. So sick. I loved that like Crypt Keeper narration he did at the end. That was sick. That was very cool. That was awesome. Great ending. The ending kind of sounded similar to the ending of We Eat Our Young. I was almost expecting them to like bring back that riff, which would sound really cool. I'm a huge fan of reusing riffs across multiple songs in the same album. I think it gives it such cool glue. Humanity's Last Breath did that in one of their albums, and I can't remember what it was, but I remember when it came back, I was like, oh, that was amazing. Anyways, this might be my favorite song that I've heard on the new album so far. I haven't listened to the full album in its entirety, because who has like 45 minutes to an hour to just sit down uninterrupted? Not me. Technically I do, but by that time it's late and I'm exhausted. I'm ready to go to bed. But yeah, this might be my favorite. So yeah, really an interplay between two main styles, right? And this is a good example of how you can do a lot with a little. You can do a lot with a little, right? That's one thing I really want to drive home to a lot of people. That's really all I have to say. Amazing song, great stuff. If you like the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to watch the channel grow. Not to mention, we do, like I said, have that e-course coming out, that virtual online course, False Chord Fundamentals. It's really cool. It's really going to help a lot of people. Again, it's aimed more at very, very, very beginners. But like I said, sometimes I have very advanced vocalists come in because like one or two things aren't quite working right. And when they relearn baseline distortion, it unlocks a lot of stuff, in their more advanced voice. So that's what I would say. Oh, also, yeah, this is a good reminder. This is one of my students. This is one of my students here. So we do have, if you want to see the kind of, some of the people that I've helped, we do have a Cardivox alumni playlist. It's not everybody. It's a very small list. But here on YouTube, we have a playlist, Cardivox Academy alumni. And you can get an idea for that, what it sounds like. But beyond that, that's all. I'll let you go. I've got about 45 minutes until my lessons start for today. I got 5 back to back. Oof, going to be a long day. Beyond that, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out.